This is Mark with ClickFunnels, and in this video, I'll be going over how to access the page editor and the page editor settings. After viewing this video, you should be pretty familiar with the page editor and how it works. In order to access the page editor, I'm going to click the Edit Page button. This is going to open the page in the editor. Once you're inside the page editor, it is recommended that you take a look around at the settings. Here are your meta tags and social settings, where you can change the page title, the page description, and other meta tags for SEO purposes and social sharing purposes. You can select the custom domain that you want to use on this page. You can choose whether to show or hide the affiliate badge. You can access the digital assets. Any asset that is selected here will be automatically emailed to a user if they opt in on the page. You can set your background settings such as color, image, and video, as well as the position of the background image. Your text settings for the page to set a default font for the page, default text color, and a default link color. Here you can insert any tracking codes that you have that are specific to this page. It is recommended that most tracking codes be placed in the footer unless otherwise specified by the tracking code provider. You can set a redirect override URL here, and that will take the user to this URL after they complete an action on this page, such as opting into a form. Here you can add custom CSS if you're familiar with CSS code to stylize your page even further. You can choose whether you want your page to be shown in search engines or hidden from search engines. And then you can save your page as a template. Here you can access the email integration settings to integrate with your third-party autoresponder or webinar. Here you can access the sections of your page. You can click here to drag and reorder them. You can hide a section from the page. You can duplicate a section or delete it. Please note that there is no undo option if you delete an entire section. If you clone a section, it will clone everything that is inside that section. Here you can see the same with all of the rows on the page, the columns, and if you click on a column, you can adjust those columns settings. Please note that this is the only way to adjust column settings, whereas rows and sections, you can click the gear icon to adjust those settings. You can see all of the elements that you have on the page. You can save the page and preview. Make sure you save the page before you preview, and also exit the editor. If you exit the page without saving, your page will not be saved. Your section settings are fairly unique. You can choose the width of the section, the background color for that section. You can set a unique background image for just the section. You can position how that image is set, and you can also make the section a sticky header or a sticky footer. You can change the padding, which is the inner space in the section, or the margin, which is the outside space. A border radius, which is going to make the corners rounded, and the edges that it would apply to. You can set that to only apply to the top or the bottom. You can have a border for the entire section, shadows. These settings down here will allow you to customize how your sections appear on the page. You can have a timed delay, you can have animation when it comes in, and you can also use some advanced CSS here to position it differently. The rows and columns have very similar settings as well. You'll notice that they don't have all of the same settings, but it's pretty much the same. Your element settings are going to depend on what type of element it is. If you choose a headline, you'll have text settings. If you choose a button, you'll have settings for your button. Now, please remember that the elements that are available on a page depend entirely on the type of page you are using. If you have an order page, you'll have order page elements available to you. You can add sections, rows, and elements by hovering over the respective section, row, or element and clicking the green button to add a new section, the blue button to add a new row, or the orange to add a new element. When you add a new section to the page, it'll just add a new section directly below. You can then position that section however you like. You can move it up or you can move it down. You can access the settings, you can duplicate, or you can delete it. You'll be prompted to confirm when you delete if you really want to delete it. When you add a row, you will get to choose how many columns you would like to be in that row, up to 6 columns. You can also choose a left sidebar column or a right sidebar column. After adding the new row, you'll see here you can add new elements to that row by clicking that button. And this is the Elements menu where you can select the element that you wish to add to the page. You can search here for the element that you want to add, or you can scroll through the options. You can then select the element that you wish to add by clicking on it and clicking Add to Page. You can also double-click the element and it will add it directly to the page. You can duplicate it, or you can access the settings by clicking that. You can also click directly on most elements to access their settings. In order to move an element around, simply drag it anywhere on the page. You can add it to a new row, move it back to where it was. In order to move sections and drag them on the page, you can use this button as shown previously. You can also move rows to a new section here on this menu by dragging and dropping in a new section. There's a lot that you can do with the page editor. I encourage you to experiment and see what you can do. Please note that you can add custom JavaScript and HTML to the page editor as well. However, the code must be properly formatted or else it could break the page.